The big room fell quiet. So quiet that Jake Morrison could hear his own heart beating. He stood in front of creatures from 47 different worlds. Some looked like giant bugs. Others had too many arms or eyes that glowed in the dark. But they all stared at him now. Jake was 60 years old. His hair was gray, and his face had lines from too many hard decisions. He wore the simple blue uniform of Earth's diplomatic service. No fancy decorations, no shiny medals. Just a man doing his job. "The human race is leaving the Galactic Council," Jake said. His voice was calm and clear. "We quit, today." A creature that looked like living crystal leaned forward. This was Chancellor Vox High of the Zephyrian people. His voice sounded like wind chimes. "Ambassador Morrison, you cannot be serious. The mining dispute can be solved. We can talk about it." Jake shook his head. "We are not talking anymore. We are done talking." He put a small device on the table between them. "This has all our legal papers. We followed your laws. We quit the right way." The room exploded with noise. Creatures were talking, shouting, making sounds Jake could not understand. Some banged on their desks. Others waved their arms or tentacles or whatever they had. Jake waited. He had expected this. For 30 years, humans had tried to fit in with the Galactic Council. They had followed the rules. They had done the hard jobs nobody else wanted. They had shared their ideas and their inventions. They had even died protecting Council worlds from pirates and monsters. And what did they get for it? Nothing. When humans suggested new ways to grow food, the Council said it was too simple. When humans offered to help fix broken planets, the Council said it was too dangerous. When humans warned about pirate attacks, the Council said humans were too violent and worried too much. The mining dispute was just the last drop in a very full cup. 3 human colonies needed rare metals to survive. Their air makers were breaking down. Without new parts, 20 million people would die. The humans found the metals on empty planets and asked permission to mine them. The Council said no. They said those planets might be useful someday. They said humans already had too much territory. They said humans should learn to use less. 20 million people. The Council did not care. "This is not how you solve problems," said a slug-like creature from the Mylarian worlds. "We are civilized beings. We talk, we make deals." Jake looked at the slug. "We talked for 30 years. You never listened." That was true. Jake remembered every meeting, every proposal, every time humans had tried to help. The Council always found reasons to say no. Humans were too young, too aggressive, too different. But when the Council needed someone to fight the Kithara pirates, they called humans. When their trade routes broke down, they asked humans to fix them. When their research projects failed, they wanted human scientists to solve the problems. The Council wanted human work but not human ideas. They wanted human soldiers but not human leaders. They wanted human inventions, but they did not want to give humans credit for making them. "You are making a mistake," said War Commander Krextol. He was from the Draconian Empire. His people looked like dragons from old Earth stories. "The galaxy is dangerous without the Council's protection." Jake almost smiled. The Draconians were the only ones who had ever really respected humans. They had fought a war against Earth 50 years ago. The dragons had expected an easy victory against the primitive humans. They were wrong. Humans had fought so well that the Draconians ended up respecting them. After the war ended, the dragons became allies. They were the only Council members who treated humans as equals. "Commander Krextol," Jake said, "your people understand honor. You know why we must do this." The dragon nodded slowly. His red eyes looked sad. Jake turned back to the whole Council. "Our ships are already leaving. Our people are packing up and going home. In 6 months, there will be no humans in Council." "Space, but the trade agreements," said another creature. "The defense contracts, the research projects. All ending," Jake said. We will honor existing deals for 6 months. Then we are gone. The truth was starting to hit them. Humans were everywhere in council space. Not as leaders, but as the people who made things work. Human cargo ships carried food and supplies to dozens of worlds. Human engineers kept the big space stations running. Human doctors worked in hospitals across the galaxy. Human teachers helped alien children learn. Human soldiers guarded the dangerous border areas where pirates attacked civilian ships. And now they were all leaving. On Titan Station, Dr. Lisa Parker was packing her research. She had worked here for 15 years, studying how to move things instantly from one place to another. Her work could change how the galaxy traveled and traded. "Dr. Parker," said her alien partner Vector. He had tentacles instead of arms and 3 eyes. "You do not have to leave. The Council values your work." Lisa stopped packing. "The Council values my work when it helps them. But when I asked for help to save the dying colonies in the Rigel system, where was that value?" Vector's tentacles drooped. "The terraforming project was too expensive. Too risky. Too human," Lisa said. "Every time we try to help, you find reasons to say no. But when your people are in trouble, you expect us to drop everything and fix it." She went back to packing. "I spent 5 years developing the quantum gates that could have saved Rigel for 5 years of my life. The Council buried the project because they said human technology was unreliable. 3 billion people died when that planet's atmosphere failed." Vector was quiet. He knew she was right. "The worst part," Lisa continued, "is that we kept trying. We kept believing that if we just worked harder, if we just proved ourselves one more time, you would finally see us as equals." In the dangerous Void Sector, Captain Roy Henderson was getting ready to leave too. His fleet of human ships had protected this area for 10 years. Pirates, alien monsters, and worse things came from the dark space beyond the galaxy's edge. The Council's own ships were too weak or too slow to handle the threats. But human ships were fast. Human crews were brave. Human tactics worked. "Sir," said Lieutenant Amy Foster, "Kepler Defense Station is asking us to stay longer. They have reports of 3 pirate ships moving toward the shipping lanes." Roy looked at his screen. He could see the pirate ships. He could save the innocent people they were going to attack. It would be easy, but orders were orders. And humanity had tried playing by the Council's rules for 30 years. "Tell Kepler Station they need to call the Council Defense Force," Roy said. "This is not our job anymore." "But sir, the Council ships won't get here in time." Roy closed his eyes. "I know. Lieutenant, I know." The human fleet jumped into hyperspace, leaving the sector undefended for the first time in a decade. Back on Earth, President Karen Wells met with her cabinet. The requests were already coming in. Aliens begging humans to stay. Offers of better deals, promises of more respect. "Madam President," said Secretary of State Dan Rivers, "the Altarian Trade Federation is offering us exclusive trading rights if we stay." Wells read the offer. "The same rights they refused to give us last year?" "Yes, ma'am." "What about the Zephyrians?" "They are offering a seat on the Science Council. They want access to our quantum research." Wells put down the papers. "Dan, do you see what is happening here? They are not offering us these things because they suddenly respect us. They are scared. They need us, and they just figured that out." She was right. For 30 years, the Council had taken humans for granted. They saw humans as useful servants, not as partners. They never imagined that humans might just leave, but humans were tired of being treated like children. Tired of having their ideas dismissed. Tired of being the ones who did all the hard work while others took the credit. "Ma'am," said General Lisa Rodriguez, "our intelligence services are reporting panic in several Council sectors. Supply lines are breaking down. Defense stations are going offline. They really did not realize how much they depended on us." Wells nodded. "They will learn. The question is whether they will learn in time." 3 days after Jake Morrison's announcement, the first human colony ships were already moving toward the outer rim of the galaxy. They carried millions of people who had lived and worked in council space for decades. They were going home. All of them. Engineers and doctors, teachers and soldiers, miners and farmers. The backbone of galactic civilization was pulling up its roots and leaving. And for the first time in centuries, the Galactic Council was about to discover what the galaxy looked like without humans to hold it together. The exodus had begun. The consequences would follow soon enough. 3 months passed since the humans left. The galaxy was starting to break. Governor Zellian stood on his balcony looking at the dying fields. The planet Ceres Prime had fed 12 star systems for over 100 years. Now the crops were turning black and falling apart. "Governor," his aide ran up to him, out of breath. "The blight is spreading faster. The northern continent is completely infected. Our scientists say we have maybe 4 months before total crop failure." Zellian felt sick. "What about the synthetic fertilizers? The chemical treatments?" "Not working. Sir, the blight seems to be getting stronger. It is eating through everything we try." The governor remembered the human agricultural advisor who used to work here, Dr. Paul Martinez, had been a quiet man who talked about soil health and natural balance. The council's agricultural commission had called his methods primitive. They said chemicals and gene modification were better than the old ways humans suggested. Dr. Martinez had warned them. He said using too many chemicals would make the soil weak. He said they needed to rotate crops and use natural pest control. The commission had laughed at him. "Sir," his aide continued, "the Agricultural Commission wants to increase the chemical treatments. They say if we use more, we can stop the blight." Zellian shook his head. "More chemicals? That is what caused this problem." He turned to his aide. "Send a message to the Agricultural Commission. Tell them we need new solutions, or this planet will starve." Far away in the void sector, Admiral Vexmore was having his own problems. The pirates were getting bolder every day. The Kithara Syndicate had attacked 6 cargo ships this week alone. "Admiral," his tactical officer reported, "we lost another patrol ship. The pirates hit it near the Omega Station and escaped before our reinforcements arrived." Vexmore clicked his mandibles in frustration. He was an insect-like being from the Kethran hives. His people were good at planning and organizing, but they were not fighters. "How many ships have we lost this month?" 17. "Sir, the pirates are using tactics we have never seen before. They strike fast, jam our communications, and disappear before we can respond. Any idea where they learned these tactics?" The tactical officer looked uncomfortable. "Yes, sir. Our intelligence says they are using modified human military strategies. Specifically, something called guerrilla warfare from human history." Vexmore felt his stomach drop. The humans had offered to train council forces in their military techniques. The council's peace committee had rejected the offer. They said human methods were too aggressive for civilized beings. Now, those same methods were being used against them by pirates. "Sir," another officer spoke up, "the Omega Station commander is requesting immediate reinforcement. The pirates are massing for a major attack." Vexmore looked at the tactical display. His forces were spread too thin. Without the human patrol fleets that used to guard this sector, the council ships could not cover enough territory. "Send what ships we can," he ordered, "and pray it is enough." On Earth, President Karen Wells was reading reports that arrived every day. Each one was worse than the last. "The Altarian Trade Federation is requesting emergency aid," Secretary of State Dan Rivers told her. "Their cargo fleet has lost 30% efficiency without human logistics support." Wells flipped through the reports. "What about the Zephyrian research facilities?" "Complete breakdown. Without human scientists, they cannot operate their quantum laboratories. 3 major projects have been abandoned. And the agricultural worlds?" Rivers looked grim. 7 planets are reporting crop failures. The synthetic farming methods are failing without human oversight. They are requesting immediate agricultural assistance. Wells put down the reports, so they want our help now. Where were these requests? When we needed mining rights to save our colonies. The president was not entirely happy about the situation. Yes, the council was learning what humans were worth, but people were suffering. Innocent civilians who had nothing to do with the councils. Politics were starving and dying. Madam President, said CIA Director Steve Baker, we are getting unofficial requests from individual council worlds. They are bypassing the central government and asking for direct aid. What kind of requests? Agricultural assistance, medical aid, technical support. Some are even offering to break away from the council if we help them. Wells considered this. The council had always demanded that all contact go through official channels. They had never allowed humans to deal directly with member worlds. But now those same worlds were desperate enough to ignore their own government. On the research station that used to be called Kepler Station, Dr. Zixandra was having the worst day of her career. She was an Altarian scientist with 4 arms and a brain the size of a human head. She was supposed to be one of the smartest beings in the galaxy, but she could not figure out the human quantum equations. We have been trying to replicate Dr. Watson's quantum displacement matrix for 3 months, she told her assistant. The mathematics are all here, but something is missing. Her assistant, a young Zephyrian named Kolthas, looked at the data. Streams floating in the air around them. The humans seem to approach problems differently than we do. They would break rules that we thought were absolute. That is exactly the problem, Zixandra said. Human science does not follow logical patterns. They combine theoretical physics with practical engineering in ways that should not work. But somehow, it does work. She pulled up Dr. Helen Watson's research files. The human scientist had been developing technology that could move objects instantly. Across space, the applications were incredible. Ships could travel without engines. Cargo could be transported without vessels. Food could be sent instantly to starving worlds. But without Dr. Watson to explain how she made it work, the technology was useless. Look at this equation. Zixandra pointed to a complex formula. According to established quantum theory, this should cause a cascade failure that destroys everything in a 10-kilometer radius. But Dr. Watson's tests show it creates a stable portal. Kolthas studied the data. Maybe humans understand something about quantum mechanics that we do not. Or maybe, Zixandra said quietly, we have been wrong about quantum mechanics for the last 1,000 years. On the frontier world of New Geneva, Colony Administrator Yelka was preparing for the worst. The planet housed 3 million beings from 12 different species. Without human agricultural techniques, they could not grow enough food to survive. How long do we have? She asked her chief scientist. 2 months, maybe 3 if we start rationing immediately, the scientist replied. The soil here is too poor for traditional farming methods. The humans used special techniques to make it work. Yelka remembered Paul Martinez, the human agricultural advisor who had worked here. He had spent 5 years teaching the local farmers how to work with the planet's harsh environment. But when the humans left, they took their knowledge with them. The local farmers are trying to use the techniques Dr. Martinez taught them. The scientist continued, but without ongoing human support, the methods are too complex. Yelka made a decision that would have been unthinkable 4 months ago. Send a direct message to Earth, request immediate agricultural assistance, offer whatever payment they want. Ma'am, that violates council protocols. All contact with humans must go through official channels. The council protocols are not going to feed 3 million people, Yelka snapped. Send the message. Similar scenes were playing out on dozens of worlds. The human exodus had created a cascade effect that was destroying systems that had worked for centuries. The council had built their civilization on the assumption that all species were interchangeable. If one group left, another could take their place. They had never considered that humans might be irreplaceable, but humans were not just another species. They were the glue that held the galaxy together. Human engineers had designed the communication networks that connected distant worlds. Human traders had established the supply routes that kept everyone fed. Human researchers had developed the technologies that made modern life possible. Human soldiers had protected the trade lanes that kept commerce flowing, and now all of that was gone. Chancellor HFY called an emergency meeting of the Council's inner circle. The crystal being looked older than his 1,000 years of age. The situation is becoming critical, he announced to the gathered leaders. Agricultural production is down 40%. Trade volume has dropped by half. The outer defense lines are collapsing under pirate attacks. War Commander Krextal spoke up. I warned this council that driving away our most capable allies would have consequences. The humans were the only species that truly understood warfare. They were also the only species that understood logistics, added Counselor Gelthara. Our supply chains are failing because we do not know how they manage them. HFY's form flickered with stress. What are options? We could offer them concessions, suggested one counselor. Better trade terms, expanded territory rights, seats on the Science Council. Or we could attempt to replicate their methods using our own people, suggested another. Krextal's laugh was harsh. Replicate their methods? We spent 30 years refusing to learn their methods. We called them primitive and dangerous. Now you want to copy them? 6 months had passed since the humans left. The galaxy was falling apart. Chancellor HFY stood in front of the emergency council meeting. His crystal body was dim and cracked from stress. Around him sat representatives from only 31 worlds. 16 council members had already left to seek help elsewhere. Fellow councilors, HFY began, his voice sounding like breaking glass. We faced the worst crisis in our history. The Cathara pirates now control the entire Outer Rim. 12 agricultural worlds are facing complete famine. Our industrial production has dropped by 60%. In the back of the chamber, War Commander Krextal shook his massive dragon head. I told you this would happen. You cannot build a civilization and then throw away the foundation. The Mylarian. Representative Gelthara spoke with a trembling voice. Perhaps we acted too quickly. The humans were more important than we realized. Important? Krextal's voice boomed through the chamber. They were essential, and we treated them like servants. On the dying world of New Geneva, Colony Administrator Yelka received the message she had been dreading. The Council had officially denied her request to contact Earth directly. Ma'am, her aide said quietly, the evacuation ships can only carry half the population. We have to choose who lives and who dies. Yelka looked out at the brown dead fields that had once been green and full of life. 3 million people lived on this world. Half would have to stay behind and starve. Send another message to Earth, she ordered. This time, go through the smuggler networks. Bypass the Council completely. Ma'am, that is treason against the Council. Yelka turned to her aide. The Council abandoned us the day they drove away. The humans. I would rather commit treason than watch children starve. The message was sent that night through hidden channels. Within hours, Yelka received a response that made her cry with relief. Agricultural relief team departing Earth in 48 hours. Medical supplies and emergency food included. No payment required. Dr. Paul Martinez, Independent Agricultural Corps. The humans were coming to help. Not officially, not through the Council, but as individuals who could not stand to watch people suffer. Meanwhile, in the Void Sector, the situation was getting worse every day. Admiral Vexmore stared at the tactical display showing 23 red dots moving toward the civilian shipping lanes. 23 pirate ships, his tactical officer reported. Our intelligence says they are planning to capture the entire Kepler supply convoy. Vexmore only had 8 ships in the area. The convoy carried food and medicine for 5-star systems. If the pirates took it, millions would starve. Sir, Another officer spoke up. We are receiving a priority message from the Draconian Empire. Put it through. War Commander Craigstool's face appeared on the screen. Admiral Vexmore, my fleet is 3 hours away from your position. We can help if you request it. Vexmore felt hope for the first time in weeks. The Draconian ships were powerful enough to drive off the pirates, but there was a problem. Commander, the Council has not authorized joint operations with the Draconian Empire. Craigstool's eyes blazed. The Council also did not authorize the pirates to take over half the galaxy. Sometimes, Admiral, you must choose between following rules and saving lives. Vexmore made his decision. We request immediate assistance, Commander. The convoy must get through. Understood. Draconian fleet moving to intercept. Craigstool out. The battle that followed was swift and brutal. The Draconian ships hit the pirates like a hammer, scattering them across space. The convoy reached its destination safely, but the political consequences were immediate. The Council accused Vexmore of violating protocol. They said he had no authority to request help from non-Council forces. Vexmore's response was simple. The people who receive that food and medicine do not care about protocol. On Earth, President Wells met with her advisors every morning to discuss the flood of requests coming from Council space. Every day brought new pleas for help. The Centaurian Federation is offering us complete autonomy over the Proxima system. In exchange for medical assistance, Secretary of State Rivers reported. The Altarian Trade Federation wants to give us exclusive mining rights to 3-star systems. What about official Council requests? Wells asked. Still the same. They want us to return under their terms. Shared technology, Council oversight of our military, restricted territory rights. Wells laughed bitterly. So individual Council members are offering us everything we ever wanted, but the Council itself is still demanding we submit to their authority. General Rodriguez spoke up. Madam President, our intelligence services report that the Council is fracturing. 7 more worlds have indicated they are considering leaving to join whatever alliance we might form. This was the part that worried Wells. She had never wanted to destroy the Council. She had just wanted humans to be treated fairly. But the Council's stubborn refusal to change was tearing the galaxy apart. What about the humanitarian crises? Wells asked. Getting worse every day. The agricultural failures are spreading. The pirate attacks are increasing. Refugee ships are crowding around every major station. Wells made a decision that would change the galaxy forever. Start the Independent Relief Program. Any human citizen can volunteer to provide humanitarian aid to Council worlds. Make it clear this is not official government policy, but we will not stop our people from helping those in need. Within days, hundreds of human relief teams were heading to Council space. Doctors went to plague-stricken worlds. Engineers went to fix broken infrastructure. Agricultural experts went to dying farm planets. They came as individuals, not as representatives of Earth. The Council was furious. Chancellor Vox High sent angry messages demanding that Earth stop the illegal interventions. He threatened sanctions and military action. Earth's response was simple. Free citizens have the right to travel where they choose and help who they choose. We cannot and will not stop them. On Kepler Station, the research crisis was reaching a breaking point. Dr. Zixandra had been trying for months to complete the projects that human scientists had left behind. We have another cascade failure in the quantum lab, her assistant reported. That is the 5th one this week. Zixandra felt like screaming. The human research was so close to breakthrough technologies that could solve many of the galaxy's problems. Instant transportation, unlimited clean energy, medical techniques that could cure diseases that had plagued species for millennia. But without human scientists to guide the work, every experiment ended in failure. Dr. Zixandra, her communication officer, called out, "We are receiving a message from an independent human research team. They are offering to assist with our quantum projects. Independent? Not official Council representatives?" "No, ma'am." They say they are private citizens concerned about the humanitarian applications of the research. Zixandra did not hesitate. Tell them to dock at Bay 7, immediately. When the human research team arrived, led by Dr. Helen Watson herself, Zixandra felt hope for the first time in months. Dr. Watson, I thought you had returned to Earth. The human scientist smiled. I did. But I could not stand knowing that life-saving research was sitting incomplete while people suffered. Some things are more important than politics. Back in the council chambers, the emergency session was turning into chaos. Counselor after counselor stood up to report new disasters. The vegan hegemony has lost contact with 6 outer colonies, one reported. The Rigel Cooperative is requesting permission to negotiate directly with human relief teams, said another. 3 more star systems have declared independence from council authority, reported a third. Chancellor Vox High tried to maintain order, but his authority was crumbling. We must present a united front, he declared. The humans cannot be allowed to dictate terms to us. War Commander Krextool stood up slowly. His massive form towered over the other counselors. Chancellor, with respect, the humans are not dictating anything. They are simply refusing to be dictated to. They abandoned their responsibilities to the galaxy, Vox High protested. No, Krextool replied. We abandoned our responsibilities to them. For 30 years, we used their skills and dismissed their ideas. We took their loyalty and gave them nothing in return. They did not abandon us. We drove them away. The dragon's words hung in the air like a judgment. Around the chamber, counselors looked at each other with growing understanding. The question now, Krextool continued, is whether we will continue to pretend we were right, or whether we will admit our mistakes and try to fix them. Gilthara spoke up quietly. What would it take to fix them? Krextool's answer was simple, but devastating. We would have to become what we should have been from the beginning. Partners, not masters, equals, not superiors. We would have to treat every species with the respect we demand for ourselves. And if we cannot do that, asked another counselor, then the galaxy will leave us behind, Krextool said. And it will be no more than we deserve. The chamber fell silent. For the first time in their history, the Galactic Council was facing a truth they had avoided for centuries. They had been wrong. The question was whether they could change before it was too late. Outside their chambers, the galaxy was already finding new ways to survive. With or without them. 1 year after leaving the council, humanity made an announcement that changed everything. President Wells stood before the cameras in the White House. Her words would be heard across the galaxy, through networks that humans had helped build. My fellow humans and friends across the stars, she began. Today we announce the formation of the Terran Alliance. This is not just a human organization. It is a coalition of free worlds, built on equality and mutual respect. The news hit the galaxy like a shockwave. Humanity was not coming back to the Council. Instead, they were building something new. On the remote world of Kepler 442b, Ambassador Carl Johnson met with representatives from 12 different species. These were worlds that the Council had ignored or rejected. Species that had been called too primitive, too aggressive, or too different. The Andromedan Collective agrees to join our alliance, reported Dr. Nancy Kim. She was humanity's expert on alien biology. Their living ship technology could revolutionize space travel. The Andromedans grew their ships instead of building them. The Council had called this method backward and disgusting. But Andromedan ships could heal themselves when damaged and adapt to new environments automatically. What about the Void Runners? Johnson asked. Captain Roy Henderson, the man who had once guarded the dangerous Void sector, smiled. They signed the agreement this morning. 50 years of fighting pirates alone, and now they finally have real allies. The Void Runners had no permanent worlds. They lived in space, moving from system to system. The Council had refused them membership because they said a civilization needed fixed territory. But the Void Runners knew every hidden route in the galaxy and could fight battles that would destroy traditional fleets. The Draconian Empire sent a message, Henderson continued. War Commander Krex-2 wants to discuss military cooperation. This was huge news. The Draconians were the strongest military force in the Council. If they joined the Alliance, the balance of power would shift completely. Back in Council space, panic was spreading. Chancellor Vox High read the intelligence. Reports with growing horror. 17 Council worlds have requested permission to open talks with the Terran Alliance, his aide reported. The Altarian Trade Federation is threatening to leave the Council if we do not allow negotiations. What about our own military situation? Vox High asked. War Commander Thexmore, who had been demoted for accepting Draconian help, gave the grim news. The Cathara pirates now control 31 star systems. Our defense forces cannot stop them. We have lost 43 ships this month alone. Vox High's crystal body flickered with stress. And the Terran Alliance? They launched their first joint military operation yesterday. The results were impressive. In the Omega sector, the battle had been swift and decisive. The Alliance fleet was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Human ships provided the tactical coordination. Draconian vessels brought overwhelming firepower. Void Runner fighters used hit-and-run tactics that confused and scattered the enemy. Andromedan bioships adapted to pirate weapons in real time. Admiral Sarah Mitchell commanded the human portion of the fleet. All units, this is Admiral Mitchell. Remember, we are not just fighting pirates. We are proving that cooperation works. Better than domination. The pirates had expected to face the usual Council forces. Slow, predictable ships following rigid tactical doctrines. Instead, they faced a fleet that moved like a living thing, adapting and responding to every threat. Main pirate base fell in less than 4 hours. Thousands of prisoners were freed. Entire systems were liberated. But the Alliance did something the Council never did. Instead of claiming the liberated worlds, they offered them a choice. Join the Alliance as equals, return to the Council. Or remain independent with Alliance protection. Most chose to join the Alliance. On New Geneva, the world that had almost starved, Dr. Paul Martinez supervised the Harvest Festival. The crops were better than they had ever been under Council management. How did you do it? Asked Yelka, the colony administrator who had defied the Council to ask for help. Martinez smiled as he watched human and alien children playing together. In the fields, we listened to everyone. The Centaurians knew which plants grew best in this soil. The Altarians understood the mineral content. The Void Runners knew how cosmic radiation affected growth cycles. We just put it all together. The Council's experts said this world could never be truly productive. The Council's experts only listened to themselves, Martinez replied. We listened to everyone who had something to teach. The success on New Geneva was being repeated across dozens of worlds. The Alliance approach of combining different species' knowledge instead of imposing a single solution was proving remarkably effective. In the research labs of the new Kepler station, Dr. Helen Watson worked alongside scientists from 7 different species. The breakthrough they achieved would have been impossible under the old Council system. The quantum displacement matrix is stable, announced Dr. Zixandra, the Altarian scientist who had struggled for months to understand human research. With Andromedan bio-integration and Draconian power systems, we can transport entire ships instantly across the galaxy. Dr. Watson nodded proudly. This is what happens when we share knowledge instead of hoarding it. The new technology would make interstellar travel as easy as walking through a door. But unlike Council policy, the Alliance immediately began sharing the technology with all member worlds. Back on Earth, President Wells met with her advisors to discuss the flood of requests from Council worlds. The Centaurian Federation formally requests Alliance membership, Secretary Rivers reported. They are willing to leave the Council immediately. The vegan hegemony is offering exclusive trade deals if we protect their outer colonies, added CIA Director Baker. What about the Council's official response? Wells asked. General Rodriguez answered grimly. They are mobilizing their remaining military forces. Intelligence suggests they are planning some kind of action to force Council worlds to stay loyal. Wells felt tired. They still do not understand. This is not about power or territory. This is about respect. The President's words proved prophetic when the Council made their biggest mistake yet. 3 Council battle fleets moved to blockade the Altarian homeworld, preventing them from leaving to join the Alliance. It was meant to be a show of strength, a demonstration that the Council still had power. Instead, it became the moment that destroyed them forever. The Alliance response was immediate and overwhelming. Within 6 hours, 7 Alliance fleets converged on the blockade. The Council forces found themselves outnumbered 3-1 by ships using technology they could not match, but the Alliance did not attack. Instead, Admiral Mitchell broadcast a message to the Council fleets. Council ships, you are illegally blockading a sovereign world. You have 1 hour to withdraw. Any ship that leaves peacefully will be allowed to depart safely. Any ship that fires on Alliance forces or civilian targets will be destroyed. The Council fleet commander, Admiral Nexrel, was in an impossible position. His orders were to maintain the blockade, but his ships were outgunned and surrounded. Admiral Mitchell, he broadcast back, the Council does not recognize Alliance authority in this sector. Mitchell's response was calm and clear. The Council's recognition is not required. The Altarians have requested our protection. We are providing it. For 1 tense hour, the 2 fleets faced each other. Then Admiral Nexrel made the only rational choice: Council fleet withdrawing. We will not fire on Alliance forces. As the Council ships departed, something unprecedented happened. 15 Council vessels broke formation and requested permission to join the Alliance fleet. Admiral Mitchell, this is Captain Yexton of the CNS, Harmony. My crew votes to request Alliance asylum. We cannot serve a government that threatens innocent civilians. Mitchell accepted the defections. Within hours, the news spread across the galaxy. Even Council military forces were abandoning their government. The Altarian world formally joined the Alliance that evening. Their massive trade networks immediately began serving Alliance worlds, further weakening the Council's economic power. Chancellor Vox High called an emergency council session, but only 18 representatives showed up. The others were either negotiating with the Alliance or had already defected. We must stop this madness, Vox High declared. The Alliance is destroying everything we have built. War Commander Crextel stood up slowly. The massive dragon had attended every council session for 50 years. Now he looked around at the nearly empty chamber. Chancellor, he said quietly, the Alliance is not destroying what we built. They are building what we should have built from the beginning. With those words, Crextel walked out of the chamber. The Draconian Empire formally joined the Terran Alliance the next day. The Great Reckoning had begun. The galaxy was choosing its future, and that future did not include the Galactic Council. 2 years after the humans left without a word, the galaxy was completely different. President Wells stood on the observation deck of the Alliance flagship, New Horizon. Through the huge windows, she could see the construction of something that had never existed before. A space station the size of a small moon, built by 43 different species working together as equals. Madam President, Admiral Henderson approached with his daily report. The new Kepler station will be finished ahead of schedule. Dr. Parker says the research facilities will be operating in 4 months. Wells smiled as she looked at the construction. Ships from dozens of worlds worked side by side. Human engineering. Crews worked with Andromedan biotechnicians. Draconian heavy lifters carried materials prepared by Altarian manufacturers. Void Runner scouts mapped safe routes for the massive cargo vessels. Any news from the former Council territories? Wells asked. More worlds joining us every week, Henderson reported. The vegan hegemony formally requested membership yesterday. Even some of the Zephyrian colonies are asking to join. The transformation had been remarkable. The Terran Alliance had grown from a few desperate species to a thriving civilization that spanned most of the galaxy. But unlike the old Council, the Alliance treated every member as an equal partner on what used to be called Ceres Prime. The agricultural revolution was complete. Dr. Paul Martinez walked through fields that were greener and more productive than they had ever been under Council rule. The secret was simple, he explained to a group of young farmers from 6 different species. Every world is different. Every species knows something unique about growing food. Instead of forcing everyone to use the same methods, we learned from everyone. The results spoke for themselves. The Alliance worlds were producing more food than ever before. The techniques developed on Ceres Prime were being shared freely with every member world. No one was hungry in Alliance space. Dr. Martinez asked a young Centaurian farmer, "Why did the Council not do this?" Martinez looked thoughtful. Because they believed there was only one right way to do things, their way. They never considered that different species might have different solutions to the same problems. In the former pirate territories, Captain Jake Stevens commanded a mixed Alliance patrol squadron. His crew included humans, Void Runners, Draconians, and former Council defectors. They had turned the most dangerous sector of the galaxy into the safest. "Captain," his Void Runner First Officer Zefka reported, "long-range sensors show 3 unidentified ships approaching the trade route." Stevens checked the displays. "Probably refugees from the old Council territories. Set course to intercept." Standard greeting protocols. This happens several times a week now. Ships full of beings fleeing the chaos in what remained of Council space. The Alliance always offered them the same choice: asylum, transportation to other territories, or help finding a new home. Captain Stevens came a transmission from the approaching ships. "This is transport vessel Hope's Dream. We are carrying refugees from the Omega system. Requesting permission to enter Alliance space. Permission granted. Hope's Dream. Follow our escort to Processing Station Beta 7. You will be provided with food, medical care, and temporary housing while you decide your future." This was how the Alliance treated everyone. Not as subjects to be controlled, but as beings deserving of respect and choice. Meanwhile, in what remained of the Galactic Council, Chancellor Vox High faced the end of his civilization. Only 12 worlds remained in the Council. The rest had either joined the Alliance or declared independence. "Chancellor," his aide reported, "the Mylarian Federation is requesting permission to open negotiations with the Alliance." Vox's crystal form had grown dim and cracked. "Denied. We cannot allow any more defections. Sir, with respect, the Mylarians represent our largest remaining industrial base. If they leave, we will not be able to maintain basic infrastructure." Vox High knew his aide was right. But admitting it would mean admitting that everything the Council had stood for was wrong. In the Alliance territories, Dr. Helen Watson was achieving breakthroughs that the Council had said were impossible. Working with scientists from 17 different species, she had revolutionized everything from medicine to space travel. "The bio-quantum interface is stable," announced Dr. Zixandra, the Altarian scientist who now worked as Watson's research partner. "We can now transport living beings instantly across galactic distances with no harmful effects." Watson nodded proudly. "This is what happens when we combine Andromedan biotechnology with human quantum theory and Altarian mathematics. No single species could have achieved this alone. The new technology would make the galaxy smaller and more connected than ever before." But true to Alliance principles, the breakthrough was immediately shared with all member worlds. President Wells received daily reports of the Alliance's success, but she took no joy in the Council's collapse. Too many people had suffered because of their stubborn refusal to change. The intelligence reports show complete breakdown in the remaining Council territories, CIA Director Baker reported. Food shortages, civil unrest, infrastructure failures. They are requesting humanitarian aid. Wells considered this carefully. What kind of aid are they requesting? Everything. Food, medical supplies, technical assistance, security support. They want our help, but they still refuse to recognize Alliance authority. Secretary of State Rivers added his assessment. Madam President, they want the benefits of Alliance membership without actually joining the Alliance. They want us to fix their problems while they maintain their superior attitude. Wells sighed. Some things never change. What are our options? General Rodriguez spoke up. We could provide humanitarian aid through independent relief organizations. Help the people without legitimizing the government. Or, Rivers suggested, we could offer them observer status. Let them send representatives to learn how the Alliance works. If they are truly willing to change, they could eventually apply for membership. Wells made her decision. We will provide humanitarian aid to any world that needs it, regardless of politics. But we will also extend an invitation to the Council leadership. They can send observers to see how a real democracy works. The offer was transmitted to the Council the next day. The response was immediate and predictable. The Galactic Council does not require instruction in governance from a rebel alliance, came Chancellor Vox High's reply. We demand recognition of our legitimate authority and immediate cessation of interference in Council affairs. Wells read the response and shook her head. They still do not understand. After everything that has happened, they still think this is about power and control. But while the Council leadership remained stubborn, individual Council worlds were making different choices. The Mylarian Federation became the latest major defection when they formally requested Alliance membership. We can no longer serve a government that values pride over the welfare of its people, declared their representative. The Alliance has proven that cooperation works better than domination. As the Alliance continued to grow and prosper, something unprecedented happened. A group of former Council leaders, led by War Commander Krextel, approached Alliance representatives with a formal request. We wish to establish a new organization, Krextel announced. A council of reformed worlds that will work to repair the damage caused by our former government. We ask for Alliance guidance in building a truly democratic system. President Wells met with Krextel personally. The massive dragon looked older than his centuries, worn down by guilt and regret. Commander, Wells said gently, the Alliance welcomes any world that truly embraces our principles. But you must understand that joining us means accepting equality with species you once considered inferior. President Wells, Krextel replied, the greatest lesson of the last 2 years is that no species is superior to another. We are all students. We all have something to learn and something to teach. 6 months later, the former Galactic Council formally dissolved. Chancellor Vox High and a handful of die-hard supporters retreated to a remote system, still claiming to be the legitimate government of a galaxy that had moved on without them. The remaining Council worlds joined either the Alliance or the new Democratic Federation that Krextel helped establish. The galaxy was finally united, not under the rule of the strong, but under the principle that all beings deserve respect and freedom. President Wells stood once again on the observation deck of the New Horizon, but this time she was not alone. Representatives from 68 different worlds stood with her, watching the construction of the new Galactic Assembly Hall. We have built something beautiful, she said to the gathered leaders, a civilization based on cooperation instead of control. But we must never forget how we got here. Ambassador Carl Johnson, now the Alliance's Secretary General, nodded. The price of freedom is eternal vigilance. We must never allow ourselves to become what the old Council became. The humans had left without a word 2 years ago. In doing so, they had forced the galaxy to confront its failures and build something better. The new civilization would endure not because it was powerful, but because it was just. And in that justice, every species, no matter how small or different, could find a home among the stars.